The situation in the Middle East is tense. Conflicts are escalating with effects felt far beyond the region. We're monitoring the situation daily. Now live to Tel Aviv with Sefi Kedmi, economist analyst, for his take on recent events. Sefi, hi, and thank you for joining me. Sefi, hello, and thanks for being here. Hello. Thanks for having me. How's the current situation in Tel Aviv affecting daily life? Until yesterday, we were in a war zone. We stayed near shelters, didn't work, now back to a new normal, but missiles could still hit. Israel faced attacks from Iran while the Gaza war continued. Civilians had to stay close to shelters. A missile hit my neighborhood about 100 meters from here. Entire buildings and houses were destroyed. 28 civilians died, showing Iran targeted civilians unlike Israel. Not all have shelters. Elderly and disabled can't run to shelters quickly. Sadly, my kids know someone to kill them just for being Israeli. That's the Islamic Republic's idea, different from Iranians. We're aware. Go on if you want to finish your thought. We have a truce, but what's next? Iran's nukes? Direct attack? World's response? What's the general public opinion on the attacks? Are there divisions in public opinion? Not really. Israeli public opinion strongly supports this operation, including many Israeli Arabs who were targeted and killed like others, as the Islamic Republic doesn't discriminate in its killing. They'll kill Arabs or Jews indiscriminately. We must remember a fundamental fact. This war didn't start with Israel 2 weeks ago. It began on October 7th when the Islamic Republic, through Hamas, initiated the conflict. With Houthi and Lebanese support, they fired rockets at Israel unprovoked after the largest Jewish massacre since the Holocaust, attacking from multiple fronts. Iran provided financial and military backing for all of this. Israel didn't suddenly decide to attack. Iran's intentions have been clear. Daily, Iranian schoolchildren chant, "Death to Israel, death to America," and they have the weapons to act. We waited until Trump's negotiations concluded. We gave them 60 days, then Israel acted with most Israelis' support. Most Israelis distinguish between Iran's government and its good citizens. Jews have a history of positive relations with Iran. We differentiate civilians from authorities targeting only the regime. Civilians were not targeted. How do you view the U.S. role in the Israel-Iran escalation? The U.S. stepped in at the right time, letting Israel strike Iran hard. This shows our strength and U.S. backing, proving we're not just hiding behind America. We must remember this. I know everyone's tired of intervention, but remember, without it in North Korea, we got a nuclear power in Southeast Asia. That won't just go away. This regime harms its own people and the entire region. Doing nothing is a choice with a price. We're very grateful to the American president. Many international analysts say recent military operations violate international humanitarian law. This applies to Gaza too. How do you respond to such criticism? We take it very seriously. I'm a lawyer, but these accusations always come up when Israel defends itself. It's nothing new. Where were these critics when Hamas burned people alive, kidnapped from parties and beds, and committed atrocities? All these critics are negative towards terrorists and ignore the context. Israel is fighting an enemy that hides in schools, hospitals, and aid groups, using civilians as human shields. They don't wear uniforms and often target civilians. We must understand something fundamental about this war. Hamas wants more civilians to die, both Israeli and Palestinian, to win the propaganda war. This is their survival strategy. If only Hamas died, no one would criticize Israel, but they hide behind civilians, endangering them. The statistics on the Gaza war tell us this. As for Iran, those were already military targets. Our urban warfare stats beat those of the US, UK, and others. This could have ended if Hamas freed our hostages. Hamas still holds 50 hostages in Gaza. Releasing these hostages is the basic condition. It's not collective punishment happening in Gaza. This is war, and war is terrible. We didn't want or start this war, but civilians suffer. This isn't about collective punishment. Proportionality in war law isn't about casualty numbers. As we can see, they haven't done this yet, and Gaza's people remain Hamas hostages. They're not enemies, they're civilians. Most are good people wanting normal lives, but Hamas forcibly took power. For 18 years, Hamas abused them, took their money, and built war tunnels to hide hostages and exploit the poor to fight Israel. If they'd agree to a ceasefire, free hostages, and give up power, this would all end. We're not punishing Gaza. How would you describe Israel's current political situation given rising international tensions and pressure? Before the war, Netanyahu was politically weaker as Israel's prime minister. He trailed in polls with limited support, and the government did all it could to stay in power. So it made various political deals to remain in power as long as possible. However, after the attack on Iran, Netanyahu's gained more support, but the public still blames him for October 7th. His position remains shaky, but he might call early elections to capitalize on the Iran attack. Opposition parties still lead in polls due to Israel's coalition system. It's not just about one politician's popularity. That's not key. Netanyahu's recent votes came from hardliners after the Iran strike more than the other bloc. The future remains uncertain. War fuels patriotism and inflames both Netanyahu's camp and the opposition. They're essentially hawks on both sides. It's not simple left versus right. The liberal camp has strong candidates too. We discussed Gaza. You mentioned Hamas. There's no Hamas in the West Bank. What's the situation there? We've been reading about settlers and the brutal events occurring there. There are two key issues here. First, Hamas isn't actually in the West Bank. That's a common misconception. Various militant groups there are under Palestinian Authority or Hamas control. The Palestinian Authority differs from Hamas, but West Bank Palestinians face dire circumstances. Many Palestinians lost Israeli jobs after October 7th. The Palestinian Authority tried to take over West Bank refugee camps, but lacks control there. Israel's army is now acting against Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other terror groups there, but remember, many people aren't aware of this. By October 7th, 95% of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza lived under Palestinian self-governance. So they were living under their own authority. The two-state solution and self-governance concept wasn't far off, but it's still challenging. I don't see signs of de-escalation. Two main issues: post-ceasefire Gaza and leadership after Abbas leaves. Who will govern the West Bank and handle Gaza? It remains a very challenging situation. Finally, do you support a two-state solution? What would be a long-term solution? As a political analyst, I must separate my personal views from political analysis. Personally, I've been a peace activist for 20+ years and fully support self-determination. Self-determination for all people worldwide, including Palestinians. Everyone should live freely, and all children, including Palestinian kids, deserve equal rights. They must be a people living in peace and with dignity. However, having said that, I must add the following. The Palestinians' best hope is to become a Mediterranean Taiwan. Full independence is unrealistic amid war without goodwill or understanding between sides. Provided with the ability to harm Israel, and they have the capability to damage Israel. So, as in the case of Germany after World War II. First, Palestinian society must undergo de-radicalization, especially in education and media, focusing on coexistence and peace. Most people don't realize that the majority of Palestinians aren't under Palestinian Authority control. They live in PA territories, but the UN is responsible for them. There's a unique UN agency, UNRWA, established solely for Palestinians. All other refugees fall under the main UN refugee agency, which handles education and finances. So Palestinians in PA territories aren't actually under PA jurisdiction. Without responsibility, they can't be accountable, and they teach their kids Israel shouldn't exist. Half of Israel's population isn't European. They're given false hope that war will help them conquer Palestine and remove us Jews. It's truly horrific. It's a crime against us and Palestinian children alike. Children raised this way are likely to choose violence. This must change. I understand that, but how can this be changed? You said independent states aren't the solution. What is then? Taiwan isn't fully independent, yet it's a very successful state. Future Palestine should have movement, sovereignty, and control, but coordinate with Israel, be demilitarized, and have monitored education. Post-war Japan wasn't fully independent and still can't have an unlimited military. So you're saying Israel should have some control, not necessarily Israel alone. Israel and Palestine should jointly control the airspace, as this area is smaller than New Jersey. When it comes to air traffic, coordination is essential. You also need coordination for land borders. We saw what happened in Gaza. EU forces at the Egypt-Gaza border were expelled by Hamas. Nothing was done about it, leading to today's situation with Palestinians and Israelis paying the highest price. We've paid heavily too, but for peace we must change what failed, starting with the education system. Most people in Gaza are under 18, with 75% educated by Hamas to believe Israelis shouldn't exist. If this doesn't change, we'll repeat past mistakes. It's a crime against both Palestinians and Israelis. This must change for coexistence. We're not united, Israelis and Palestinians. Europe had a major war. The Balkans had a big war, yet you don't kill each other daily now. So peaceful coexistence is possible, but things must change. Sepi, thanks for this talk and for having us. Take care. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad I could be on your show.